Thank you very much for joining me. How you been? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Back. Steve Renazizi. I'm the guy. I'm the guy. Fucking lit. I'm the guy. Steve Renazizi. Lit. I'm the guy. I'm the guy. Fucking lit. I'm the guy. Steve Renazizi. What's the odds? What's the odds? What's the odds?
Ladies and gentlemen, it's What's the Odds with Steve Renazizi. This crazy background of mine, I'm in the Denver Comedy Works condo in Denver, Colorado, getting ready for my shows this weekend. One tonight, two tomorrow, and two Saturday. So let's fucking shamelessly plug straight out the gate. It was a disappointing weekend for a couple reasons. But anyway, first, I want to say happy birthday to our own Lucas Hurl, who on Sunday celebrated his 78th birthday. What the hell is that? Did you see that little? Did you see that
little thumbs up? I don't know what that was. I just started clapping and it popped up.
What the fuck?
They must have updated Zoom. This is fun. But now it's gone.
It's not doing it anymore. I don't like it at all.
Well, okay.
For those of you listening, not watching, a thumbs up sort of graphic just popped up like a bubble next to my head. Like
because I was clapping. So I liked what you said, and then Zoom was like, "Okay, let's give Steve some gratification and make him feel good about himself."
Well, Zoom's pretty gay.
And then they were like, "That's enough. It's not working now."
Yeah. Anyway, I was about to say, congratulations on another trip around the sun, Lucas Hurl. We love you, and we're disappointed because the best present you could have received, obviously, would have been to have the Bills win the game. Now, before we get to that, I made an announcement last week as to which way the wind was blowing, which direction I felt like my picks were going to go in, and I told everyone, and you guys pretty much agree with me. I think, Lucas, if I remember correctly, you were like, I love everything you said. Brenton, I think you liked it, but you did have some reservations about the Bills. Well, of course, I hit the first one, the second one, and the third game. And I wanted to cash out, and I texted you guys. I said, I think I'm going to cash out if I get. I didn't. For Lucas's birthday, I let that bitch ride.
No,
because I believe, dude.
Send him a gift card.
No, I believed, bro. I believed.
You believed?
But it's a bad one. You're Bill busting me now. Listen, I don't think it was a disaster on the. Let's play the Koreans because this made me feel better when you said that to me. Let's play the Korean announcers announcing the Tyler Bass kick at the end of the game. This is beautiful. This is what the world should be.
그렇기 때문에 조시 앨런 선수가 오른쪽으로 나오면서 시간을 벌어봤지만 오픈된 리시버를 찾을 수 없었습니다.
44야드 거리입니다. 타일러 베스. 오른쪽으로 벗어났어요.
Wow. I couldn't have said it better myself. And like I said, these guys make sense. You can't argue with what they said.
It does take a lot of like the depression off of a missed wide right kick for the Bills when they act like it was a magic trick versus the American broadcast that we got where it was just like, oh no, wide right again for another generation. Like they're a lot more positive, and that's how it should be.
That's my favorite part. Bro, it was I'm sorry about the Bills losing again. I didn't text because I had a gig at a ski resort in North Carolina. Well, it was North Carolina, 2 hours outside of Charlotte. So I was on top of a mountain. I really barely had any fucking cell service as it was. And I wasn't going to use it on you guys to just try to fucking rub it in your faces. It was terrible. Mm-hmm. Everybody was rooting for you guys. I feel like the whole world, even fucking Swifties were kind of, everybody wanted, even Jason Kelsey, I think probably if he asked him, tied him to a metal detector, a fucking lie detector, he would have wanted the fucking Bills to win, dude. The Bills are more America's team than any other team. And it's another disappointment. Is there blame to lay? Where do you lay the blame? And start hitting me with who who fucked up beyond Tyler Bass. We all know it's Tyler Bass. He takes the most scrutiny right away because, he missed the kick. That's how it's going to go.
Mm-hmm.
But who else? Who else's heads are we cutting off here, Brenton?
It starts with coaching. We came in with a great game plan. We controlled the ball in the first half. We ran all over Kansas City, which is the weakness of that defense. You can run on that defense. And we had like 150 yards in the first half. We controlled the clock, time of possession. We had everything except the score going into halftime. And in the second half, once again, Sean McDermott got outcoached and outclassed by Andy Reid, and we made no adjustments. We couldn't run 3 yards a carry in the second half, and Andy Reid, for the first time this year, Kansas City was able to score on 5 consecutive possessions. Our defense had no answers. McDermott's supposed to be a defensive guru. Now, granted, the defense is decimated. Our linebacking core, we were on our 5th linebacker calling defensive plays, which is insane. I mean, people need to understand that's like the Browns having Flacco as their 5th quarterback. It's the same thing on defense with our 5th linebacker calling out the plays. And for the second time, it happened mid-game where they had to put the headset in someone else's helmet. But I mean, I don't see how you blame anybody but McDermott. Josh Allen played a nearly flawless game. James Cook played well. There were a couple of Sherfield and Diggs had catches that they probably, if they had made, maybe the game turns out different. But at the end of the day, it's like McDermott's got to be able to make in-game adjustments. He needs to make adjustments at halftime, and he needs to coach better because he cannot win the big game. He can win in the regular season, fine. He's a great regular season head coach, but when it really matters, he has failed now 4 straight years in the divisional round.
Lucas, do you have anything to add to that?
No, he said it.
And we're retaining him, by the way. He's coming back.
Yeah.
Okay. I think the first person you got to look at after Tyler Bass is Stephon Diggs still a wide receiver number 1? Because let me tell you something.
He is, and I'll tell you why. Go ahead, but then I'll tell you why he still is.
If New York Giants wide receivers whose names I mean they won at Super Bowls, who had the fucking pinhead catch? What's his name?
Manningham
for the Giants.
David Tyree.
Or David Tyree.
David Tyree, thank you. Yes. Manningham's fucking catch. These are guys whose names we don't remember, but they won Super Bowls for the team. Mm-hmm. If they are making catches like that in big games, well, God damn it, Stephon Diggs, you got to make catches like that too, dude. I'm sorry, bro. It's you versus the world.
Too. Sorry, James Cook also dropped in the first half. He dropped a easy walk-in touchdown catch that resulted in a field goal, I believe. So there were 4 more points off the board.
I mean, I just look at the couple deep throws that were, 98% on the money. Mm-hmm. Yes, they're difficult catches. Yes, they are, but they are catches that the best of the best make, especially in big situations. We never sit there, every Monday you got the guys on television breaking down all these quarterbacks, all these ex-quarterbacks breaking down the quarterback play. You rarely hear these wide receivers going, dude, you got to catch these fucking balls, bro. These are the balls that you get paid more than anybody else to catch. And there were 2 that I remember that game-changing ones. When they got the ball down by 3, the first play of that last drive, and he went deep to fucking Diggs. Deep. That ball was in his fucking arms, bro. And they would have, even if he just fell on it, caught it, and fell on it. That you're at the 25-yard line, first down right there, and you just punched fucking Kansas City in the face.
And the defender was falling down. I'm not saying you
walk in for 7
he catches it and he stays on his feet. He walks in.
That's bonus. Catching the ball was job number 1.
Yeah.
And now you're first and 10 at the 25, and you have all this time. It's basically a drill now. You got to run a drill, and you got to win the drill. Everybody runs drills starting at the 20-25 red zone area, and then let's go. So I look at plays like that where I'm like, those are the fucking plays that you have got to make. Those are the plays that fucking 15 makes on the other side, that Josh Allen makes on your side. You gotta do that. The first and 10 slant in the second quarter for 4 yards, a difficult catch is great. That is great. You got 4 yards, but those aren't the ones that are gonna, those are not the ones that are gonna be difference makers. You've got to make the difference makers work, and that's. I think you guys need to go look for, because Stephon Diggs to me is not anymore. I could name 10 wide receivers that I'd take before Stephon Diggs, probably more. Can you?
I think it's a bigger issue than just one player. I think the Bills just have never given Josh enough supporting cast. And the issue with this particular game is Gabe Davis was out. And if Gabe Davis plays, we didn't have a receiver that can take the top off the defense. They're playing man coverage. Diggs has never been a guy that has ever really been able to get separation. He thrives in zone coverage. Kansas City runs a lot of man. That's why in the past, especially in the playoffs, Gabe Davis rushes Kansas City and Diggs is kind of just, solid but not overwhelming. And not having someone to do that, they can play two safeties high and they can bracket Diggs and take everything away from him. And then who else do the Bills have to throw to, really? Kincaid's still developing.
Well, then
Shakir had kind of a coming out, but he's still, kind of a young player, and he's not a guy that's going to run down the field and pull defense away. So we need to get a number two.
I mean, look, you just made my point for me.
Well, we need a number two to support our number one.
No, you need a number one, dude, because what you just explained is
Diggs
how
is still a number
Diggs
one.
is not.
Diggs' stats
in man to man.
He's still a number one.
In man to man,
there's plenty of wide receiver ones that either are better in man. I'm saying he's better in zone coverage versus man, and you can't just cheat the defense.
I'm telling you,
if you have a second guy across from him, that's what we said in the offseason. We wanted a Hopkins or one of those guys to come over to Buffalo, and if we had gotten that, the offense would be unstoppable.
And just like Dallas thought that they had Amari Cooper was their number one, and then they were like, no, we need this kid CeeDee Lamb. We need to light a fire under this guy. Now they don't even have Amari Cooper, and CeeDee Lamb's the guy. So
Mel Kiper is projecting we're getting that kid from Texas in the draft, and maybe
you should go after a wide receiver.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, there are a lot of free agents that are going to be available that they should aggressively go after. The problem is they don't have any cap space. So Bean's got to get creative.
Because you have a freak of nature as a quarterback.
Yes.
Who can throw the ball as far as he wants.
He needs
so why not go have someone who can run as fast as he can throw the ball? So
yeah,
I don't know. I'm just saying, I think that because, I look, again, Josh Allen, everyone looks at the throw that in the fourth quarter with, that he missed the end zone, and the back-to-back second and third downs that he didn't get.
Yeah, I have an issue with that. I have an issue with that because I know in the broadcast they were claiming that he could have checked down to Diggs, and that seems to be the narrative is Josh made a mistake on that play and he could have checked down to Diggs and gotten a first down. But I've rewatched the replay over and over, and you see Diggs is open, but there are two defenders right there at the sticks. So if he catches it, he's probably making contact 2 yards short of a first down. So he either breaks two tackles and, the kick is obviously 5 yards closer, but he's probably not getting a first down. And then if you watch where Josh releases the ball, you don't even see Shakir because he's covered. It's a timing route. But when Shakir cuts, the ball is perfectly in line where he would have hit him in the end zone. Like it was the right read and the right throw. The problem is Deion Dawkins had Chris Jones, and if he had held him for a tenth of a second longer, Dawkins doesn't get pushed back and step on Josh's foot, and he gets to throw all the way into that pass, and it's probably a touchdown.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know why that was the narrative, like Josh made the mistake and threw to the wrong guy, because he didn't. He had the game right there. Josh is a killer. He saw it. He had the throw, and it was right there. Our offensive line let him down. So again, it isn't all on Bass. There were a lot of little micro moments that led up to that moment. And honestly, we shouldn't have been on the field kicking a field goal. It should have been a touchdown.
Yeah, 7 would have been so big there. 7 would have been so big because, you didn't want to go. The tie, I was nervous. I almost didn't watch the kick because I was like, well, it's going to go probably 99%. I didn't think about it missing it, but they're still gonna get their hearts broken. I wasn't like, all right, here we go, we're gonna march into overtime, and I'm like, there's still time for this fucking guy.
Yeah.
And they scored so many times in the second half that I was like, shit, the levees are breaking, and this is gonna be tough. But as the Japanese announcer said, Tyler Bass, yeah, look, I don't. This kick to me was harder than the Scott Norwood one. This kick was in shitty conditions. Scott Norwood kicked on, what was that, the Rose Bowl?
Yeah. Or no, it wasn't the Rose Bowl.
No.
But it was beautiful.
It wasn't the winds.
That was Tampa. That was Tampa.
Yeah.
Although the
That's
wind
swirling.
wasn't bad though, dude.
It swirls though. It wasn't like bad, but the wind in that stadium swirls, and it makes it very difficult going one way or the other.
Were limp. So it
But
wasn't.
the wind
I don't
took
think
it
that
and pushed it to the right. I don't think he kicked it to the right. There was a gust of wind that took it to the right, right after it left his foot. Like you see it kind of going straight, and then it just torpedoes.
I look at these kicks like a golf swings. Like he hit a fade and he's overcooked it. He sliced it, and so that's what happened. I think. I don't think the wind. If there wasn't any wind, it ain't gonna help it. But it's not gonna. I don't think even in the dome that thing probably doesn't go through.
Mm-hmm.
So it sucks. It sucks. I felt terrible. But they did save the best for last, because that was a great game. And you probably wouldn't want. Would you if that game was on Saturday or Sunday, the first game, would you have watched even the late game? Probably. Were you depressed?
No,
Are you depressed?
I'm definitely depressed. I mean, it sucks. It feels every year, but they build you up and then they disappoint you. I think this year was a little bit easier because I saw the writing on the wall with the defense, and I addressed that last week. I thought that either the Bills were going to come out swinging and win by a couple scores, or they were going to lose by a field goal, and they lost by a field goal. So they have a good team still. I don't feel good about our coach going into next year, but I guess next year is literally going to be the make or break. Absolutely.
So who would you hire?
You have up until yesterday, because they could have made this move a lot more aggressive and they could have made it a very appealing job for Jim Harbaugh. But up until yesterday, Jim Harbaugh was available. Bill Belichick is still available, and Mike Vrabel is still available.
So you would take any one of those guys over?
I would take any one of those guys over what I have right now, because what I have right now has gotten us to the postseason, but he cannot get us past a certain point. He's plateaued. He's made bad decisions. He has not shown us that he can adjust in game and he can outcoach. He has literally been outcoached every playoff game that he's been in. And you need to change. While Josh is still young, you need to make changes. And, I trust our GM. He's made a lot of good moves, minus Von Miller. That's probably the worst contract he'll hopefully ever give out, because we ended up paying that guy $5 million per tackle this year, and he gave us 3 tackles on the entire season. So hopefully he can figure out a way to restructure a few of the other ones, and get Josh some help. Because if he gets Josh even a little bit of help, he's going to get over that hill.
To be fair, Von Miller may have made more than just 3 tackles on the field. One of them may have come off the field, but that's all allegedly. We don't know that for sure.
That might have been more. That's more of a shove. Would be more of a quarterback pressure versus a tackle.
A QB pressure, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. To be fair. Anyway, I think Joe Brady called a great game. I will say that.
Yeah, but again, the second half adjustments, I think it's a learning curve for him, and I'm excited to have him back as offensive coordinator. I'm glad that it doesn't seem like he's going to get a head coaching job. But I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to, if things start off bumpy next year, getting McDermott out and making Brady the head coach, because the players like him. He is a quarterback genius, and he's really helped Josh develop even more. And he's a guy that if they were going to hire from within when McDermott is out, and I do think he's going to be out. I don't think next year everything's going to be completely different because our cap situation, and I just don't see us doing what we need to do. I wouldn't mind Joe Brady taking over. He did a wonderful job, and you could see the difference in the offense from week 1 to whatever it was, 11, when they fired Dorsey and then brought him in. I mean, it was night and day. So I am excited about that. I think the defense will get healthier next year, but we have to get one of those big wide receiver free agents. And, I would even take Mike Evans on a couple of year contract. He'd be great across from Diggs.
He looked good this week. Last week, he looked terrible. His age is showing big time.
He's had a couple of drops, but I would argue that he probably still has a couple of years left in him, and he is.
I mean, he's in that Taylor Lewan fucking draft class, dude.
Yeah, but he's a dangerous enough weapon that it will take a lot of pressure off of Diggs, and then you also have Shakir and you have Kincaid, who's gonna be a beast next year. And I think you get a guy like Mike Evans, you have a veteran who wants to win another Super Bowl. He's already made a lot of money, so maybe he'll take a little bit less to catch passes from Josh. I don't think Tampa Bay is going to retain him because they're going to be like, we got to sign Baker to a crazy contract now. So I would take him. I think T. Higgins would be a good fit too.
And also, I mean, that was 2014, so that's 10 years ago. That draft class is still rocking. That draft class is like
Odell's in that draft class.
He's got a couple of years left in him, I think, and he's a bigger dude, and he's very durable. He's got good hands. So he can take the top off, and he can go up, and he can catch over these little cornerbacks.
I mean, they looked. I'm trying to remember. Oh, the Detroit. I didn't catch much of that game because I was listening to it, driving upstate. But I did watch highlights and stuff. Does it lie? Did Baker get out? Was that coverage just completely? I don't know, schemed well, because he seemed like he was throwing picks that he doesn't normally throw. And I'm not talking about the last one. The last one, it looked like he forced something.
I think he was pressured more than the Lions had really done all year, so I think he was thrown off by that. But it's not like he still passed for like 350 yards. Like, he didn't have a terrible game. The Lions defense isn't that good in their secondary. So he threw on them pretty well, but their defense couldn't really stop Detroit, and it didn't seem like they were going to be able to beat. I think just Detroit being at home and the energy of that city, like, there was just so much momentum, and they just needed that little lead, and they were never going to give it up. If that game had been played in Tampa, maybe it would have been a different story. But Baker didn't play like a bad game.
Who was a bigger disappointment to you, Houston or Green Bay? Who do you think had a more legitimate chance to win their game?
Absolutely. Green Bay had that game won, and they gave it over to San Francisco. San Francisco should thank their lucky stars, and that's another red flag. Kyle Shanahan, amazing coordinator, amazing game planner, but another guy who cannot adjust in the second half, and he gets outcoached almost every playoff game. For the second half, he has such a better team, and Green Bay had the game. It was right there. Purdy threw a couple of passes that should have been picked, and one should have been a pick six. And now we're talking about Green Bay at Detroit for the conference finals. Like, they had that game. It sucks. If you're a Green Bay fan, like, you have a lot of hope for next year, but that was a game that you really just handed it away.
Jordan Love looks good though. Man, does he look good.
Throwing off his back foot. You can't throw off your back foot.
I love it.
And not get, but that's what cost him. He got picked 3 times. You can't throw off your back foot. He's got to learn how to throw deep and not overthrow guys while not throwing off his back foot and taking all his velocity off, because he's going to get picked.
Quarterback lessons by the world's most renowned quarterback coach, Brenton Biddlecombe over here.
I'm not a renowned quarterbacks coach, but you can watch it and you see it and you're like, this is what's going to happen.
But if you're Houston, though,
bet.
If you're Houston, think about it. You're going into halftime tied 10-10, 30 minutes away.
I don't think you're disappointed in that team. That team overachieved by so much with a rookie quarterback. You were the second worst team in football a year ago, and now you're playing in the divisional round after winning a division title. Baltimore is just the best team in football right now. I don't think there's anybody that's going to beat them. Their defense is the best remaining defense. Their quarterback's going to win MVP. He's about to get Mark Andrews back, so all of his weapons except Mitchell are going to be there for him. Who's going to beat them? You think Kansas City has a chance this week with their starting tackle? Their all-pro tackle's probably not playing, and they might not have Willie Gay at linebacker. They might not have Edwards at safety. You're just not going to be able to match up. You're not going to stop them.
Dude, Lamar is going to run all over them. Edwards is going to run all over them.
Yeah.
And they're not going to run. Pacheco's not going to get away with as much as he got away with this week with the decimated Bills group.
Pacheco has another shoulder issue.
Raekwon Smith is he's no joke, that dude.
Yeah. And you'd think the Ravens aren't looking at the Bills tape and going, look at how they got all this yardage in the first half. Baltimore is a much better running team than Buffalo is. So it's probably going to be a low-scoring game that Baltimore is going to control, and they're going to do what Buffalo couldn't do, and they're actually going to finish drives and score points and put Kansas City away. I don't see it any other way than that, short of Lamar gets hurt.
Oh, come on.
I'm just saying, that's the only scenario where this happens, because he likes to run and he's not a big guy. He's not super durable. The only way that Baltimore loses this game is if something catastrophic like that happens. I don't think it will.
What about Detroit?
That game is, I think, a lot tighter, which is interesting because Vegas has it as more of a blowout. They got San Francisco favored by 7 at home, and then Baltimore is favored by only 3.5. I think those lines should be the other way. I think Baltimore should be the heavier favorite because I think Detroit and San Francisco match up well. To me, San Francisco hasn't played a good game in a month. They haven't played a full, complete, complimentary football game. Brock Purdy's been really shaky the last 2 games that
they
he's
look
played.
so different when Deebo Samuel goes out, dude. They look so fucking different. They look like a whole different team. And to me, I'm like, he's the key.
Yeah, he's probably going to play. There's a lot of optimism that he plays. Yeah, but that shoulder, you take one hit.
Who's to say, dude? That was just a normal tackle.
Yeah. And I mean, that's how all those guys are. They're all pro, amazing freak athletes, best at their position. But now you're seeing Deebo seems to get hurt a bunch. McCaffrey obviously has a history. Kittle has a history. So if one or multiple of those guys go down, Brandon Ayuk's a very good wide receiver, but he's not a guy that's going to carry that offense with Brock Purdy. So Deebo needs to play and he needs to stay on the field. But I haven't seen expected? No, there shouldn't be rain. So Purdy should be good. I think that affected him too, because, he has smaller hands, and in the rain, he's got to wipe his hands off between every snap. So he's probably going to be a little sharper. But again, they haven't played a good game, in my opinion, in about a month. The other caveat is Detroit hasn't played outside, on grass. They've played in a dome every week since week 14 or 15, whenever they played Chicago, and they lost that game and they didn't look good. So that's why I think this could go either way. Both the teams can be beat through the air. Their secondaries aren't good. George Kittle should be able to feast because Jack Campbell can't cover him. He's not going to be able to cover him. Jack Campbell's not a good coverage linebacker. Detroit can stop the run, but they can't stop the pass. So McCaffrey is probably still going to do what he does, but it'll be through the air. And it should be a very good game. I think it's going to be high scoring, but I honestly don't know which way it'll go. I think it boils down to.
I like Detroit to cover.
I think they cover. Yeah.
I like Detroit to cover, and I like Baltimore to cover their end.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I look at him.
I don't think
over-unders.
I don't think Baltimore is going to need to worry about covering. They're going to win that game easily, but I think it'll be under because they're going to run the ball a bunch and they're going to control the clock and slow everything down and keep Mahomes on the sideline. So that's like a 24-10 game. And then Detroit and San Francisco, I think, is going to go over. And I think Detroit covers, but I honestly don't know who wins.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if next week the Baltimore game, or this week the Baltimore Chiefs game is almost a carbon copy of the Houston Chiefs game. Baltimore Houston game last week, because they're going to, maybe a turnover or something where the Chiefs are in it for a little bit and then they make adjustments in the second half. Andy Reid will try to make adjustments, of course, but it'll be a thing where they will impose. Lamar will impose his will, and the defense will impose their will enough to, they may not score, the way they did 3 touchdowns in the second half, but they'll score 2, maybe give up a field goal and end up being, 21-10 or something like that, or 24-10.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess the under makes sense. What's it, 44 for you?
Yeah, I think 44, maybe 44.5.
I had a brutal week. I missed that the Bills cost me the $750
Sorry,
parlay.
Steve.
Which, by the way, I'm not doing parlays
out.
anymore.
You said
I'm
you
not
were
doing
going to cash
parlays anymore.
out. Just cash out.
I'm not doing
Take the
parlays
money.
anymore. I'm doing individual games because I would have won 3 out of fucking 4.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, maybe do the parlay, but also bet 3 out of the 4. Or bet them individually.
I also bet JT Poston to finish top 10 at the American Express last weekend, which I want to talk about for a second. And he finished 11th.
Oh, God.
Fuck. Yeah. So, I lost my bets there, but I won in fantasy, dude. I finished first in that double up.
Yeah. Keep building that bankroll.
And much like the kid that won this week, Nick Dunlop, which congratulations. First time an amateur has won since 1991. How many years is that? 34 years? 33 years?
33, yeah.
Phil Mickelson was the last guy to be an amateur to win a college amateur to win a tournament, and Nick Dunlop did it last weekend in the desert. And he had a lead for most of the tournament, and then the last day he did what a lot of people thought he was going to do, is he fell down a little bit in the back until the back 9, where he had a couple birds and ended up winning by 1 stroke, $1.25 million, which, because he's an amateur, he had to give back. He can't keep that money.
Wait,
second place. Yeah.
Why is that a thing?
Well, it used to be that if you were an amateur, because he won the U.S. Amateur last year, he qualified for the Masters, the U.S. Open, the Open, the British Open, aka the Open. So if he was to give up his amateur status, he would lose exemption into those events. Now that rule's changed. He wouldn't have to lose if he gave up his amateur exemption, he would still be able to go into those events now. That rule's been taken away. I just think that he entered the tournament as an amateur, and therefore he wasn't sure if he was going to stay an amateur or not, or become a pro. So he just stayed an amateur, and he got invited to then obviously this week's event, the Farmers Open, which he did the smart thing. He withdrew from because he won. He wanted to go back to Alabama. He's a sophomore at fucking Alabama, and kind of see what his options are. And what he ended up doing yesterday was turning pro. So now, because he won, he gets all the points. He went from ranked 2-something to 50th in the world. He gets all that stuff. He just didn't get the money. But now he is
Who gets the money? Where does it go?
Second place guy gets the first place money. The third place guy gets the second place money.
Oh, that's fucking stupid.
And all the way, so the rich guys that he beat,
what a stupid
they
rule.
get his money. Yeah.
You got beat by an amateur, you clowns. Yeah. You got beat by a kid. He's a fucking 19-year-old kid, still in college, 20 years old, and you're taking his lunch money. You fucking assholes. What a dumb rule.
I think he could have kept it. I think he could have declared at the end, I don't want to be an amateur anymore. But I don't think he knew what that I think he's that's a big decision that he wanted to be like. And look, in the grand scheme of things now, because he is now not an amateur, he's a pro, he's been invited to, and now golf has these things called signature events, which they have, it's the response to the LIV. They have these designated tournaments that have these huge purses, and he gets invited to all of them now. He's in all of them.
Okay.
So that 1.2 something that he left on the table will probably be nothing compared to what he'll probably end up making now maybe $4-5 million this year.
Let me ask you this.
And he might not even have to win again.
So he is a student at Alabama, and was he on the Alabama golf team?
Yes, and he won the U.S. Amateur last year.
Was he making like the NIL money, you think? And if he goes pro, he doesn't get NIL money?
Yes.
Okay, then
but
he's already rich, so fuck him too.
Yeah, it does. Well, yeah, but I don't think it paled. I don't think he made anything close to 1.2 million in NIL money. But I think that's also what complicates things and why you might want to retain your amateur status for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. But congratulations, dude! 20 years old, and it was Scotty Scheffler, the number one player in the world, was in that field. Most of the top 10 was in that field, so it was a pretty impressive fucking thing to do. And I'm psyched for him. He's this week it's the Farmers Open in Torrey Pines down in La Jolla. So
is he going to be a dude that you're going to use in your lineups?
It's crazy now because so many people, so my fantasy league just started up, and it's this kid, Adrian Marnock, who is top 30 in the world. He enters the tournament, right? He plays the first round and then withdraws because he moved to Live. He signed a deal with Live yesterday. So the guys that you are going to use now, it's getting bigger and big. It's like the stable's getting wider and wider. Mm-hmm. Because the normal names are no longer there, and some of these guys that are coming, the guys from college, like it's obvious now. They're not like, there's no learning curve. They're coming to fucking play. That's why the PGA did a thing this year where if you are the number one ranked golfer in college, they do individual stats, and you get an automatic exemption for a year into the PGA. You don't have to go to the Korn Ferry Tour and try to qualify that way. You're in. Because these guys are coming out of college now, and they're fucking slaughtering people. So it's a big deal. And this kid's, who knows? This could be the biggest thing that ever happened to him, or he could go on to be the next Phil Mickelson. So you got to kind of watch and see how he develops and how it goes. But I'm psyched for him. It was pretty cool to watch. All right, so I guess we should get into our picks, right?
Yeah, I think I made mine pretty clear what I'm going to go with, but I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say.
I think it's all crapshoot.
Yeah.
It is. Give me both. I think with Brenton, I think the Ravens win. I think a lot of Vegas will be behind the Chiefs because of how they looked last week. But dude, the Bills had 3 linebackers.
If you go deeper into it, like, we're all going to romanticize Mahomes and say, he is the comeback god, like he's the greatest, and we're thinking about what he's done in the past, and we're not reading closer. Like, against Miami, that offense finally looked decent, but look at how decimated Miami's defense was. Against Buffalo, they looked the best they've looked all season long, but look at how decimated Buffalo's defense was. Now he's going to go up against probably the best defense that he's played all season, and they are completely healthy. Marlon Humphrey's practicing, so they're completely healthy. Humphrey's probably playing. I don't think you're going to see, like, he'll have flashes because he's Patrick Mahomes, but I don't think you're going to see them have success like they've been having the last 2 weeks. And this is where Baltimore is going to make a statement and go, hey, we're the best team. We're going to win the Super Bowl. And then they're going to move on, and they're going to get to play a team, either one of them they've already beaten by 30 points this year.
And I don't think that Jim Harbaugh is going to get outcoached by Andy Reid.
John Harbaugh, yes. John Harbaugh is a much better coach. No disrespect to Mike McDaniel and Sean McDermott, but John Harbaugh is a much, much better coach.
John Harbaugh put up, they decimated the 49ers when they played them.
And the Lions.
It wasn't even close.
And that was the Lions coming off of all the hype of, oh my God, this Lions team is a Super Bowl contender. Yeah. And they went into Baltimore and they got their asses kicked.
Yeah. So, and Baltimore, I think they did on the road. Didn't they go into
Baltimore
San Francisco
went into San Francisco and beat them to a
yeah.
goal.
Yeah. And ran their brakes off. So I'm telling you, I think Baltimore is going to be real tough at home, real tough to beat. And I like them covering totally. The under I like, we walked that one out before. As far as the Lions, I'm hoping the Lions, I think they can stay with them. Their offense is, he gets a job, right? Who's that? Lane, not Lane Johnson. Is it Lane Johnson?
Ben Johnson?
Ben Johnson. Not the disgraced sprinter, right?
No.
What a fucking turn of events that would have been. A disgraced steroid using Canadian sprinter turns into one of the most sought after offensive minds in the NFL. Hey, I would love that redemption story. But yeah, no, he'll get he's going to get looks in a job. Oh, speaking of jobs, we should run through who got jobs this week. It looks like Vic Fangio is going to
Philadelphia,
the Eagles.
It's a great
which I'm
signing
like,
for them
thank
again.
God. Yeah, it's good
God?
because I was afraid Wink Martindale was going to go over there.
Oh,
I just know how much. Now, look, he could still end up in Dallas if they get if they end up moving on from Dan Quinn, but I'm afraid of what he would do to a giant team plan wise twice a year in our division. So no disrespect to Vic Fangio, great defensive mind, but
I think the Eagles
I just feel like there's
keep upgrading. It's a great hire. I would have loved to see him in Buffalo, but it seemed like he was leaving Miami because he wants to be close to family, and I guess he has family there or something. That was the story. So it was kind of predetermined he was going to Philly.
Yeah. Not to bring up the Buffalo thing again, but is Leslie Frazier just going to be retained and just kind of side piece?
Leslie Frazier parted ways. He wasn't our DC this year. We didn't.
Oh, wait, not Leslie. Who was the guy
last year?
Yeah, so I'm saying not McDaniel. McDermott called the defensive plays the whole season.
Yeah.
Does he bring anyone in? Is what I meant.
We need to bring someone in.
Leslie Frazier.
I hope
that's what I'm saying.
I hope he brings someone in. He clearly can't do it himself.
I can't think of hardly any coaches that have been able to do successful double duty. The GM
Belichick
coach.
did it, right?
I mean,
did Belichick call his own defense?
Good question.
I don't think he was calling the plays. I think he always had a good DC with him.
Yeah, he always had a DC, and then he hired his son, and then Gerard Mayo supposedly was calling plays, and then.
But I think, but those are all like homegrown guys. I don't think he ever brought anyone in. Is what I'm saying. Like they never went out and hired or actively searched for a defensive coordinator. They didn't have, obviously not Rex Ryan, but like they didn't have interviews with.
We got breaking news. Bill Belichick is still not yet.
Oh.
Bill Belichick is still available because the Falcons are planning to hire Rams defensive coordinator Raheem Morris as their head coach, per Adam Schefter.
Whoa!
So Belichick, despite
that was
having
a done
two
deal,
interviews,
I thought.
Yeah, despite having 2 interviews, the Falcons are going in a different direction. So. This
tells me a couple things. This tells me that Belichick is still asking to buy the groceries and make the cake.
Yeah.
And I think that even Arthur Blank, as a big of a, star fucker as he is, wanting to hire a big name coach, sees that might not be the best recipe for Bill. Just tell us what quarterback you want. We'll go get that guy.
Yes.
And then we're going to hire a GM to kind of help you out. And I don't think he wants to hear that. Where is going to let him do that? Not Dallas.
There's only 2 jobs left for head coaching vacancies, and that's Seattle and Washington.
Oh, Bill Belichick's going to coach the Washington Commanders, dude.
Well, hey, Bill, we need a defensive coordinator in Buffalo. If you want to come and make that defense the greatest defense in the history of football and win 5 Super Bowls with Josh Allen, be my guest.
Damn, dude.
But yeah,
and everybody went young.
All of the really appealing head coaching positions are filled. So he would have to go to Seattle and rebuild there, or he'd have to go to Washington and really rebuild there. And that defense just traded away the only two good players that they had.
Yeah.
So it's very
Chase
interesting.
Young's gone.
It's
I mean, what do you
pretty
get to go
shocking,
for
and
there?
it's very interesting.
Also, the Bears did not hire Cliff King. Are thinking about the Caleb Williams things might not be 100% solid yet.
Yeah, I hope.
Have you heard anything different?
I still hear sources are saying they're leaning towards Caleb Williams, but I really think they should stick with Fields and they should draft Marvin Harrison Jr.
How good would Marvin Harrison Jr. look in a Bills uniform?
We're not going to get him. I mean,
I know.
we'd have to give up two firsts, a second. What else would we have to give? We'd have to trade somebody. I mean, they would be tough. Anyone should want him. So, maybe Bean explores it, but we're not going to get him. So we got to figure something else out. And there's a lot of good free agents.
Oh, let's change the subject real quickly, and then we'll wrap up. I saw something brutal yesterday. I'm in New York, and Billy Wagner, the pitcher, and I think he played a couple seasons for the Mets, so they cover him. I don't know why. He's a coach down in Virginia, so they were covering him on the news because the other day was the announcement for the Hall of Fame, and they did the thing where they the phone call comes in, and they're recording him, and they showed it and you didn't get it. Like normally they normally they're like, whoa, here we go. Like they wouldn't show and he didn't get in. They showed it. It's fucking brutal, dude. It's brutal. And you just see him how many 4 votes shy. 4. He got 73.8% of the vote. You need 75 to get in.
How many years of eligibility
I don't know. This is his second or third year. I'm not sure. They didn't cover that part. So it's not like it was his last shot, I think.
Okay.
But yeah, but next year's class coming in is a lot. There's a couple haymakers. I think CC Sabathia is a first rounder automatically. 300 wins, 3,000 strikeouts. You're going in. Ichiro's going in. And then there's a couple maybes on first timers on that list too. So, but yeah, it's going to get harder for him next year, Billy Wagner, to keep that, this year. Congratulations to Joe Mauer. Let's say Adrian Beltre and who am I missing?
Todd
Helton. Todd Helton. Oh, I'm in Colorado. How do I miss Todd Helton? Congratulations to those guys on being inducted into the Hall of Fame. It's fucking unbelievable. And I actually will get to see not the ceremonies here, but Jonah plays. This is the year, the 12U year. Your team goes to Cooperstown. So Cooperstown's it's like a week it's like baseball camp. You go with your team on Sunday and you sleep in bunks with your coaches and your team, and your family stays somewhere else. You got games all week. You go to the Hall of Fame. There's a home run derby. It's like the Little League World Series. There's ping pong games. It's like they all stay together, and it's a whole fucking week in Cooperstown, New York. And next week, every week they bring in another 80 12U teams from all over the country, and they run the tournament. Same thing, rinse and repeat. So our week is the middle of August. So I'm looking forward to that because then I'll get to see all the new plaques and stuff. I love the Hall of Fame. I went to college 20 minutes away from there, so I went 2-3 times a year. So I enjoy it. Go ahead, Brenton. Yes.
Shifting back into football and the coaching carousel, because Jim Harbaugh's with the Chargers now, Kellen Moore is interviewing with the Eagles today. So if they end up getting Kellen Moore as their OC and Vic Fangio as their DC, I think they pretty much immediately bounce back next year, and they're going on another Super Bowl run.
I mean, look, they retooled on their roster was almost as good this year as it was last year, I would say. And, they lost some coordinators. I think that was the big deal.
But you'd be getting 2 of the best coordinators on both sides of the football. If you're able to get Kellen Moore today and you got Vic Fangio yesterday, they're going to be really, really tough.
Do you think Jim Harbaugh that just got the job out there, does he interview Kellen Moore, or does he
I don't know how that works.
Or is it like a thing? I mean, like,
Kellen Moore is already interviewing for another job. So I'm assuming Jim Harbaugh's probably going to try to bring either guys from Michigan or pretty much his entire staff from the 49ers the last time he coached in the NFL. I think they're all available.
Good question. Who was his staff? That was 10 years ago, I think.
Yeah. That was – I saw it in a tweet earlier today that – basically his OC, his DC, all those, even like his specialty coaches were all available.
His OC was Tom Landry. That's going to be a problem, I think. His defensive coordinator.
It says that Greg Roman was his offensive coordinator in San Fran.
That's right.
Greg Roman.
Yeah.
Oh, man, dude. That's going way back. I can't wait to hear those names again.
Greg
Can we get a
Roman's
movie
available
together like the what's the fucking the Schwarzenegger? Is it Untouchables? No, the one where they the old guys that get back together to do the fucking what's that movie franchise?
The Expendables.
Expendables, yeah. So it's like Harbaugh calls up Greg Roman. He's like, "What? I'm at a buffet right now in Las Vegas.
Would it be the worst thing though? Because Greg Roman builds an offense that can run the ball efficiently with a quarterback that is also mobile. You got a mobile quarterback in Justin Herbert. I mean, he chooses not to run, but the guy is a really good runner. And Harbaugh coming from Michigan, what did Michigan want to do? They want to run the ball. They want to run it down your throat. They want to control the clock, and they want to beat you because they're better. They're tougher. They're going to kick your ass. So why wouldn't he bring back Greg Roman if he's not going to retain Kellen Moore, who wants to throw?
Yeah.
Well, and if he doesn't, one of the finalists is his son, Jay Harbaugh. Yeah.
Oh.
What are his qualifications?
Yeah, nothing there. I mean, you got some killer coaches in that AFC West.
Yeah.
You got Sean Payton, Andy Reid. Well, you got Antonio Pierce now, but, you know, the other guys are pretty.
If we're judging him off the last half of the season, he was a great coach. He did a good job. So
yeah, he did great.
I think
the team really wanted him back.
We thought the AFC West was going to be insane this year. I think we were a year too early, and next year it's going to be probably the best division.
I want to see who's going to be quarterback for the fucking for the Broncos here. I think they're going to make a deal to get rid of homeboy and find the quarterback. So it's going to be interesting to see. Again, speaking of the Broncos in Denver, if you're around this weekend, come to one of the shows downtown. Me and Ryan O'Neal are here all weekend. One show tonight, 2 Friday, 2 Saturday, and then home for the conference championships this weekend. Again, our picks are I was about to say the Eagles. The Ravens plus take them with all the points. They're going to cover. Take the under if you can. And I like the Lions to cover their points and possibly the over on that because it's going to be a highfalutin shooting game.
I don't know who wins that game, but I like the Lions to cover. I think it's an exciting game, and I kind of like that it's the later game. I think they did a good job with that too.
All right, sweet. That's it for the week, guys. Please let everyone know, and good luck with your picks because we're gonna fucking win some cash this week, bitch. Later.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Thank you very much for joining me. How you been? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Steve Renazizi. I'm the guy.